Well, Faith Over Fear, Overcoming Addiction, episode 15. And we've taken quite a few breaks. Maybe. However,
maybe 20.
Busy life. But we're determined to make it happen this weekend. And if you follow us at all, you know that this is a day later and an hour earlier than it normally is.
We're doing it. We're here.
Yep. So, and happy to be here. And today we are going to be talking about, what did we call this?
When didn't you? I guess I kind of did.
This
Yeah.
whole thing was all
that had a little bit to do with me.
Yeah. So first few days in recovery. Is that what you want to talk about?
Like triggers and stuff like that. No.
Honey, like the first few days.
Honey Lake. I mean, actually, this is like behavioral center.
Oh.
Yeah, because this is dated April 18th, 2012.
All right. Well, this should be because that crazy experience. So
yes. Start with a prayer.
Yes, ma'am.
Me or you?
You.
Okay. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you and thank you for community for us to be able to be a voice to those themselves yet. Lord, we just ask that you give us the word from our help us with some gap might have, especially so and everything that I can just in order to help somebody that might be struggling. Continue to bless us as you always have, and it's in your most precious and perfect Son's name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right.
Yeah. Hold on. So we have been gone for a little while. I do that just all this without having
your own. So I had travel out of town. And of course, we're never going to let people know such things. And set Amanda up with the bare minimum, but still high quality USB situation at home. And I'm proud of you for doing it. You can't not do it without you. So I just set it up before I left and it was there. And then she's
how other people work in. There is a coworker of mine maybe half or so. I hadn't really weren't like became friends on social media, and so she told me about it. And so I mentioned, letting you know this one Friday I'm not going to be doing it because why not? And that like all I had as well with anything I might not feel like I want that I'm doing. Why not? There's so many different reasons why not. And then I type and getting sober and why not that, which is a scary thing and scary thing because we are constantly social things just always surrounding us and we don't spend enough time meditating and thinking about things that we really ought to do. And the thing that really recovery is taking them. So I think all of these things. And so anyway, this person made it done, and I actually woke up
I didn't know about.
I didn't go very far, like a minute into all of No, no, why am I kept recording just so you can see that I was.
Oh, it's all practice.
It was, and for saying that word because it's in order you have to practice it.
Yep.
So you have to, and I definitely practice my sobriety until it becomes habit and longer. But I found that if you don't put the full effort in,
Yeah.
so anyway,
Anyway,
yeah.
get done. So
So I don't know. There's so for who in our business have taken courses on how to like speak of a group of people. And one thing that we talk about is like whenever we're presenting something, excuse me, to tell what you're going to tell them,
yeah, and then
and then tell them what you told them tonight. Really, is so of 2020 to the behavioral center on the 17th. So this is from in everything, and if you've seen of our preview through like this amazing journey, and we're still learning and learning how to recognize things in order to not have them boil over. So one of the first things that I wrote down here, and this is called the mental health maintenance plan. And it's spotting mental health risks, and it talks about triggers like a trigger, anything that bring back issues. Triggers can be activities, thoughts, people, places, or things. But you know your triggers, they can be avoided or managed. So and the first I wrote down was you, your trigger.
you're a lot of people.
In pies as well. No, it's not. It's so not true. Multiple. Yeah, you were, um, like I was leading up to, maybe not knowing, which is another reason why we're doing this, not knowing to approach or how to be of help, and then finally, now I understand. You just give up because I really wasn't giving you any type of security that I was going to change, right?
Mhm.
So I put down Brett's sport time.
Yeah. Stuff is not nearly as short as you've
Oddly enough, um, person, place, thing that I had mentioned, thoughts, activity. 3 out of my 4 main triggers were people. The second is that ties into trauma,
Mhm.
but I'm talked about it before with so that person in my life, uh, and it was
Yeah.
my mom,
Uh,
mom, and then I put a dash to work issues. So there was a lot of things back then, and really my drinking. The work issues that I had were because of how acting and you know, our finances were really bad being kind of go to alcohol. And then even on top of that, other freedom tried to ask my outward appearance
Alcohol was
was
doing.
doing to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So wonderfully, those are not any. I've learned to work and it's just I'm looking for clinically, work, finances, and everything in benefit because not full effort into everything that I'm doing. So I had to learn. So going back on a previous episode too, I learned that I had PTSD in the Charlotte Behavioral Center. And then I learned what PTSD meant. And so learning what all that meant, I could be. The next thing was, we need to recognize signs. I'm a huge believer in blame everybody else for your problems. You have to take some responsibility for that. Two, but you have the power to remove from any situation, and actually gave everything up and trust in him and ever that goes on in the world. Once I was able to, that just makes life a whole lot more easy, and I don't question as much. I'm human. Now and again, I question something like I don't understand one thing, not understand happening, especially when it's a negative thing that's going on.
Yeah.
But that was once I submit the easiest thing to do because life is, and I have hers all the time. It's just how I respond to them now.
Mm-hmm.
And so the next thing and triggers and whatnot are the warning signs. So I want to bring you into this. So do you think my triggers were, or do you think that? What about that? From that.
Well, any kind of stress, work. I mean, in regards to me, my short back then, if I did, because I fuse when it comes to frustration. I honestly from my like trying to get a bolt off and it won't, or that wrench I just had in my hand, what the hell is it now? It was 2 seconds ago, and little things like that, right? And those little things, even though I think the angst that I caused in those moments myself were a trigger too.
Yeah, sometimes it had absolutely or the drinking or whatever, but I would as being and like tone always been a big thing. And so that was always one of my I'm just going to go ahead and do whatever I want to do. That's kind of where I was. But I would think that you would agree that those 4 triggers are like maybe not so much the finance piece of it was more of that's kind of like a secondary to those 3 main ones.
Yeah, but the finance too, because if my frustration finances, then you just go out and get drunk.
And I wouldn't constant, yeah. For me back then, stress. I could be having a great day, then it stresses me out. I didn't elaborate when I look back on some of the I wrote down. I don't know what it. And remember, I was 2 days sober. Half or so until I finally, when I was at Honey Lake, until it started to get clear. We talked about this at a previous episode. I often have dreams, which makes me not want to sleep. And so one of the things, Honey Lake, they wanted to make sure really good rest. And I didn't understand it at the time. Buddy talked to me about, like, all the clinicians. How are you sleeping? I had never really melatonin before. And then I actually started taking, keeps you asleep. And because, my body was readjusting. The bad stuff was at my body after years and toxic out to work itself the correct way. So, but before that, a lot of time have some sleep. But my dreams were point. I isolate myself from
your mom.
Yeah. And don't really.
What's the context of that?
Warning signs. I don't even know what that meant.
I would bet that, and this is looking back to when we were first going through this and you first accepted the possibility of getting help, you were in this mindset that you'd be able to drink again one day. And so hear you say that I drink is a drink, meaning that you just have one.
Okay. Yeah.
That's how I would interpret that, not knowing anything about the situation.
Yeah. It's so funny. I don't like being told what to or what not to do.
Oh, Schmidt.
And when your mind is clouded with alcohol, it especially just was amplified. How dare you, with all of your problems and all of your issues?
But see, that's the judgment in your mind. You still have a hard time with it today, but especially back then, like, you couldn't take any kind of feedback if it made you feel like it was something you were doing wrong, even if the person didn't say you were doing it wrong. And honestly, that was one of the biggest reasons we couldn't work together.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I agree. They always, they at the behavioral center and even at Honey Lake, recognizing what you're doing doesn't make you feel all warm and fuzzy inside, which I think is what help is because I want to and then be in agreement with what I knew I was doing wrong. So here's all that nasty stuff, but let's end it on a good note.
Yeah.
Through all of that gunk that made us feel like today I accomplished my writing. Wrote, and I really need to get back on that. I feel guilty, but I take that kind of as a I'm doing well kind of scenario. It's kind of like goes back to musicians for me. Worst shape possible in there.
Yeah. But that's part of what keeps you on the right track is being able to write and reflect and uh perspective like that.
That's the word, introspective. I had a positive experience one in my PTSD group. I cannot tell you for the life of me who all was there, but there are two. Next thing I for someone today, listen to them when they needed it. There he had can't remember his name. It's in my but I have a note here. I found it easy. I still find one reason why I kind of get into the therapy of it. Like to be able and when we're doing this, I'd like to be to hear what other people are going through and them.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting there talking to the two, just let them unload all of their stuff. And it really did help me in return. So, and that's with your recovery out there. If you're trying to do it alone, not saying that it won't, of it work when you have you're sharing it with somebody.
Yeah.
For sure. And something I learned in today's group, trying to grasp triggers is hard, but I'm willing to face them. Never.
If you were forced to, you just go.
Something that we had talked about. It was crazy. So old time phone on the wall, like a telephone booth they had there. And it's like so archaic. It was crazy. But and so there's no but I would cry on the phone with and you told me, oh, you there voluntarily. Just think about if you're not going to be there voluntarily next time. And I feel so bad for those people. And I'm very aware and I watch, news articles and stuff like that, social media sometimes. A lot of where people are pulled over from being in toxic situations, video and stuff is everywhere. And I own and just like and be like, you can avoid this. But they're so lost and there's so many different reasons why people, game
Right.
that we don't really know a whole lot about. The core of it is there's some kind of that I other reason why people just be addicted than some type of a thing that is tied into it. And emotions are a really hard thing to tap into.
Yeah, I mean, the person doesn't want to talk about them to begin with. That's how they ended up with it.
Talk to and
Yeah.
and this might be a good time for this. So when I was at Honey Lake learning about how our brain works and past trauma and whatnot is something that we always went over because that is going to help with your future recovery. And so there's this is 10th. So fast forward 3 weeks or so and we were learning about attachment. And my issues started at a very young age. And because nothing was done through my formative years until I was 42, 43. Jeez Louise. And unfortunately, we're kind the family that you're born into is the family that you're born into, right?
Last time I checked.
You can bring other people into your world as you get older and whatnot and decide who and who not to spend time with. But as a child, infancy child and stuff, you know, you really can't, you're dependent, you're surrounded. And so that, so basic attachment are the word generated by our right brain and our limbic secure attachment. So obviously I didn't have a very secure attachment. And I don't hear excuses, which one of my counselors told me not to. I am not trying to say that every single my youth and growing up is a negative. Obviously we have times and I appreciate look at like pastor. And I remember one he even said, you know, he was blessed to be born, raised in a Christian family, and he didn't really have some of those negative things that unfortunately a lot of people out there have in their world. Right?
Yep.
So everything wasn't always all negative and rainbows and sunshine and unicorns and stuff. But anyway, there again, I'm trying to make excuses, but I digress. In a secure attachment, the thalamus regulates dopamine of joy. So, yeah, second hug. That's something that I do with our son and everything. The dopamine, the serotonin chemicals that our body produces. In the beginning of alcohol. Not, but we're always chasing after that. And it actually reverses the scenario that we as an alcoholic we're looking for. But body is going to automatically produce that dopamine and give you joy. The absence of a secure relationship produces significant emotional distress, which in turn are and obviously those happy feel good chemicals that you would have.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, side note, it took me a long time after I got sober to that, like going out that piano bar in Orlando. I felt so awkward because I hadn't drank for a couple of years, and I'm like, I love to dance, I love to be around people, and I have no idea how to act. But once I my body actually responded.
Yeah, but it was like the third time we were there.
Yeah, it was.
So we were at work convention. It was out at the Moon, which is a favorite spot in Orlando for lots of different reasons, and it was a favorite spot for our to hang out. And that was the third time you were there, and you finally got comfortable because me to mingle with all the tech people, and you were really uncomfortable.
So uncomfortable. Even left you there so you could hang out, and you were having a great, and I didn't know what. I'm just kind of like watching the clock and stuff, and a few hours passed, and we were in walking distance. And I remember walking. Felt bad because you were having a great time and I wasn't. But yeah, like the third time, it's just, and I know I had to go through that to learn how to be okay with what this new world was for me.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, the third consecutive nights, by the
No,
way.
no. It's a week long.
Yeah. I was on the dance floor. I was whooping it up, and I didn't even want to leave. I was having a great time.
Yeah.
Next day.
That's the key, right? Yeah, because I know there was a lot of people there that did not.
So nice to go to those. As you know, we had gone to those work funny thing, and that it's like the first time where I was like, great, look at those people. They all look like zombies walking around, unless you're like 20 to 25, because you could do that at that age and still look okay. But we can think of attachment as trust. I don't want to get too much into the whole like of it, and our right brain tells our left brain how to feel about our world and others in turn. Our ideas of who, when, and how to trust from our emotional relational experience. And so I say that because that's how I not trust, because I couldn't trust for formative years. Well, thought I could, but I couldn't. Now what's so wonderful is, you know, after the years that I taken, you know, one of the things that I learned was to make sure everyone's doing, because to do that now, not because I telling myself to remind myself I gotta go now, because kind of thing. You know, it was just before this. I ran to a store, let you know where I was.
Which I had no idea where she went, because I don't pay attention to texts, and I've told her 14 million times not to text me, to call me, but that doesn't seem
You
to
responded. If you didn't respond right away, I was gonna call you. I was gonna call you. But I didn't learn that in my, so attachment develops this. So begins the infant relies on the caregiver to survive and thrive. The infant scans its world, learning how to organize the world and itself, creating neural pathways and discarding others. Parent reacts to that temperament and the child's expression of need. Child learns the world based on the parent action. And it's really all I kind of wanted to it goes into a bunch of other stuff, but this is from Bowlby, Bowlby. I don't know, only because I haven't looked into it. Disclaimer. I don't.
The full disclosure.
Full disclosure. Yeah. Hey, it wouldn't be me if I didn't do that, right? I don't know of other facilities dive as deep into your.
Yeah. But in all fairness, and thankfully, that no.
Yes. It's the only place I don't need to go anymore. Anyway, I say all of that because a lot of did from a very young age. And, you know, we were born, we're 48, 50. We were at a time, and I think our parents off, where the child is seen but not heard.
Yeah.
And I remember from house and never, ever having a conversation.
Yeah, my mom grew up in a household with strict father. And my dad grew up on a farm, and he's alluded to the fact that my grandfather, his dad, being person. In fact, I think he said it in words. I don't think the relationship was the same with his mom, my grandmother. I always knew her to be just one of the most beautiful people just spirit and just fantastic. And my was good to me as a kid, nonstop drinking and smoking, and because they'd
Mm.
have to, I would often go over there after school because my parents were both working, and I'd have to be there with his father and his wife, who's my step grandmother. I can tell you almost every day I went to the liquor store with him. Beachcomber liquor store. It was a staple here in county that we're in. But he was never, he was not violent, at least not at that point. Never showed anger or violence or anything all the time.
Yeah.
And because she was too. Like, I think even if it was one of those situations, it was a very code. My memories of it back on it now as an adult, and especially going through what we've been through. She needed a cigarette, he needed a cigarette. If she needed a drink, he'd always make her drink and then make himself one too. And it was just like nonstop.
Yeah. My Dearest.
Yeah.
And I love that movie, which is so bad. But
wire hangers.
no, you're hangers. So they're male friends, but there's this one little and she's making a cocktail for
Yeah,
her mom's.
I remember that.
This is how I always make my drink or something. I don't know if that's verbatim. That's kind
Creepy.
of
Creepy too.
yeah, sad, but I tell you, I don't remember eating a lot of alcohol. Looking back, I think that obviously happening, but with it, like just
Yeah. So that was it. That was my and then my dad's mom, and he was the one that I was really closest to. The closest to him, even though I had a really but I lived in Orlando. They were they did have, but it was always that situation or more of the after 5 o'clock.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
the socialness of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. But I don't in my immediate house. There's dad drank beer back then, and there was beer in the house. But I don't ever remember hard alcohol in the house.
Yeah.
I mean, I was young. Like, all being in the same house was done by the time I was 9. 3 years old and grabbing my
I was
but
I think I was 16.
yeah.
On the cut had my and then my brother when I was 14. Remember the reception was at like I don't know, how or something like that.
Mhm.
And got me a straight daiquiri.
Mm.
And I want this. And I took it.
Yeah.
And the grandmother had passed away. And I had 3 people over. Girlfriend and a couple of nothing happened. It was very innocent, but They brought beer, and I had one beer night, I think.
Well, do anything else. Beer is definitely an acquired taste.
But I did drinking heavily. Um, worked at first daughter 2 weeks before my 20th birthday. I didn't um, until like 2002.
Mhm.
So that's where I always say, my 20-year addiction, because to pinpoint it to. And a lot of it back then, um, social anxiety. Go figure, right?
Yeah.
Where I love just to, and even with our work, I'll just talk to random people and strangers and stuff. But I felt like I need to just get myself comfortable with stuff. I would drink a lot just because I felt like I didn't have anything to add to the conversation, or I wasn't or anything. I had falls down.
Mhm.
Anyway, we'll end with this 5'8", and I wonder, Kyle, and I wonder if any of this is true today of me. So, um,
This all
I'm a person who watch.
how many full like lifespan 10,
No, 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 no,
11, 12?
nope. I finally went through again a couple of days ago. I finally
Yeah,
went
no,
through
we
it.
went through the whole
Oh, yeah,
was it 10 seasons or
10
whatever?
and so I like to have it just in the background. I don't want to get involved in keeping my direct. I just like having it around.
We also pay for cable TV, so we've gone
So
to and streaming, and one of the first things
my favorite show on there too, right?
yeah, your
I
favorite
haven't even
show.
started. I just kept on going to Friends.
I'm gonna delete it.
Ah,
So man, I liked it, but I despise because those dysfunctional. It is that this is what a family is to be like, and it now. I think that's why I can't stand it.
you know what though?
It's not.
I realize this though. I think I loved it because it was still
Yeah,
only than yes.
yeah, because it whole family feelings it for dogs, right? Like, right? They one of them, then the whole family attacks.
That's
Be like that. Showing and friend.
yeah. Guess what?
And my mom's living room furniture is in 3 or 4
Yeah.
the big blue puffy.
I don't know.
I knew the things that happened on those.
Like, all right,
That's
going
what,
back.
that's what happened.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm a person who hates.
Yes. And then it's okay and justified.
I don't know if they're anymore.
Oh, but insane was that I get back, let's say with our son, you're calling me and but it'll still happen. Me how, but it's on your do the same thing all as well.
I think I would need to obviously play into.
I'm pretty all the that this is just something we have to do all the time. It's a one-way street when it comes to stuff like that.
I try to give you so all the things that it's like the email that I sent you the other. I'm going through. I'm in my cognitive psychology 3 weeks in. I got to do homework later, by the way. Learning mindfulness and meditation. That's something that I learned at Honey Lake, and then it's coming up. All these things are coming up in psych class. But first, do I flip my lid? Not very often. The techniques that I've learned, I just want to share them with you on maybe how to approach something differently. Or you don't want you like older. I worry about stress and heart attacks, and if there's some other way that we
I really that day was bad.
I was bad.
Having to deal with another family member. Like I was getting lightheaded and
hurt after that too.
Yeah.
I'm a
no anymore. I honestly, I have no idea.
So I knew this was going to come up at one point. So back in the day, know what I liked hobby wise. I didn't know how to be alone with myself or to fill in the void of whatever. And so the things that I did all the time was I cooked. Anymore, I do feel guilty about it. Pun intended, that I don't get to cook as much as I want to. And yeah, our lifestyle's a little bit different now than what so can cook really well.
Yes, you can.
I just need to cook more. I'm a person who cannot be alone for long periods of time.
That is not as true anymore.
No.
It's true. It's just the periods of time are much longer now.
Yeah. I am a person who would never perm my hair again.
Where does that come up to write?
So we're talking 2 days in.
Okay. And you're just trying to write down?
I guess I was just, that's with my husband than anyone else.
Be true now. I find that hard to believe then. We've talked about it on other episodes. You would always seek other people's attention.
Yeah.
So it really surprises me that you wrote that.
There, and it said I was there for me. A lot of it, I still was there for you. But that's completely true today. I was there and I dancing earlier when I went to the gym and back, and I was listening to songs on the radio, and I always had about us just being on the dance floor.
African Anteater Dance.
Yes. I love that.
That's one of our movies, by the way. I love that. Can't Buy Me Love. Waiting. One of the best. One of Ryan Reynolds' first movies. It's freaking hilarious. In it too. Anna Faris, one of her first movies.
Yeah.
If you haven't that it takes place in, it's hilarious.
Yeah, true. I made one of our really good friends sit and watch it with me. I think one of the times that you were out of when you were out, I had her come over and we just watched it because she had never seen it. How you can that movie?
A lot of people just don't know about it. It wasn't that big.
Yeah,
it makes you think I won't cut you.
And
he was,
yeah,
that kid.
Yeah. So funny. Who now the sport isn't the same, but this is true. I'm a person who loves to throw the baseball. My son. Oh, it's ball.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's hardly ever thrown a baseball. I mean, we phase where we did it quite a bit, but it's always football. Football's his favorite sport.
Yeah. I'm a person who wants to learn how to get better.
That's kind of always been true. Back then it was physically, and I think now more personal development and growth in those years too, but was your physical.
A person who of change.
You're still afraid of change to a degree.
Yeah. I'm a person who would off just accepting who I really am.
It's like
And that's one of the things Ted had said. Amanda, why don't you just be yourself? And I didn't know what that meant then. But I'm comfortable, and I have learned, and I'm learning that I'm always going to evolve. I don't want
you're authentic now than you were back then. Fake things about you depending on what circles you were in and what social in like some how, and even I so I have my customer voice, right? And
Yeah.
this is true, or just social people that want to come across friendly with people they know. And I'm very different on the phone with a customer. This deep voice gets much higher pitched, and I sound like I'm talking to my grandmother, basically.
It's funny, actually.
I think I'm even, you guys, you have a very different voice with one than.
And I am completely I'm I'm an ever-changing person.
Yeah.
Hi, sweetie. I was talking about earlier. Anyway, let's see here. I'm a who is really good. Loving my family.
Back then?
Back then.
Yeah, no.
2 days in.
No,
But
you were
see,
very
in my
selfish
mind, I thought I was.
Okay. Okay.
I thought I
In your
was.
mind, you thought you were, and I was about to say it's who you wanted to be, but not who you were.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you selfish back then.
Gosh, why did you even put up with me? Why did we put up with each other? I'm glad we did, obviously. I'm a person who gets really angry when a deal falls through.
That's funny. That's funny.
I know, right? And
Well,
you know what?
that was for you too. If a deal fell through, you got down on I'm just guessing, probably took it defeat to you personally.
Mhm.
So you felt like you failed at something, even though it was most likely always out of your control.
Right.
Right. Because
Yep.
99.99% they are. And you started to think about the terms of the money not coming in.
I'm a person who loves other people when I Catty and judgmental.
Catty.
I never
Yeah.
even use that word now.
You're
Weird.
not like it now, but back then, a lot of it had to do with circles that we hung out in too, because I mean, most of the women, girls that we were around freaking were half naked in their attire because of what, you know, what our social and yeah, there was a lot of judgment and catty comments and things like that.
Well, and I didn't feel good about myself. That's what you feel
You
bad
were
about
the
yourself.
hottest people in the circle, and yeah.
So I was Monica, one of the most beautiful women in the room.
Duh.
Going back to a friend's,
Right?
But I mean, I didn't feel good about, and that's what you do when you don't to point out things to other people. So
Bermuda. Where did they mention to speak?
it was Bermuda, yeah.
Bermuda?
Oh my gosh, I just read the next one.
Even with her hair in that situation, she was still the hottest one on the show.
Well, okay, and then anytime, even say something about a really good. Your words were a little bit more specific than what you would say now, which you don't even really say that now, but you would be like, oh, look at that hot girl on television or whatever. And that would really bother me. I had no self-esteem.
I know. And that was always hard for me to grasp. And probably I don't care. I'm going to do it anyway. It's the fact that I'm talking about people on TV that are like ever having any personal contact, and you would do worse surrounding situations.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, and I didn't, from what I remember, you weren't very open to things directly to me about me those compliments, and so it was like a double kind of, not that I remember. Yeah, gosh, wouldn't you like to smack that person from back? Here's a good one. I cannot believe I wrote this down. I'm a person who has the good habit of washing my underwear. I don't even know.
Well, that one's not true anymore. That's weird.
God. But see, that was something that was a positive to reflect on our.
That was the only positive
I
you could
couldn't
come
think
up
of
with?
anything positive for me. I was so
not even washing your face. You have always washed your face.
Yeah. I'm a person.
Underwear over the face.
I don't get it. See, write everything down because this is like comic material later on. I'm a person who has the bad habit of plants.
Yeah, which doesn't happen anymore. Veritable house now, as they won't die.
I know.
Yeah, it's crazy. Everything die. Everything you touched, plant wise.
I only have 4 more. I'm a person who will change the way other people see the real me.
So that sounds wanting to have want them to see.
You're talking about me back then.
Yeah. It's written like, I wish people would just see me for, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of like victimology. But knowing who you were back then, it's quite different. I want you to read this so that you think you're who I am, and yeah.
I'd concur. Who wishes I could change the way other people control their anger. That's me.
Directed at me.
Yep.
What's it? Read it.
Wishes I could change the way other people for anger. But here, the control I was.
Yeah, that you wanted to. The funny that 90 to 95% of my anger went away when all that stopped.
The me now would be like, how can I help?
Right. Yeah.
Under
So much in controlling. What was I gonna say? I lost my train of thought. So, read it to me again.
Wish I could change. As being controlling.
Yeah, I was thinking about my anger back then in like it was because of the situation. So that's what I was or maybe more specifics, but really the anger was because my daily was realizing she was drunk. Yeah, as we had a very young, basically
Functioning alcoholic for sure. Not even functioning on the first because it's funny. I'm a person who will be better.
Mm-hmm.
Who never misses watching the TV show Rose.
It got replaced by friend. Sorry, Rosie. I feel about it. Even though Friends, their relationship based in character than Roseanne's.
Yeah. Well, so I have no idea where this.
What is it?
I'm going to read it. I think this is from one of my counselors. There's nothing. Official else.
Okay.
So enter your name. List 3 her alcohol abuse. Of her alcohol abuse, and I that could risk factors relapse. Whoever list 3 triggers that can one coping help you. I'm obviously talk to somebody how alcohol has impacted her life. That a lot because I need to turn myself of all the things, especially in the beginning, when I remind myself of if I other can happen. It already did. Do you want it to happen again?
Mm-hmm.
And then those affected by her choices through the effect to include family. Those affected by her choices will affect to include family. What does that mean?
You're going to identify the people that you've affected.
Yeah. What I then.
Well, in affected. So I have to talk to my dad.
Mm-hmm.
And then my dad formulate an opinion of what to me. And thank God all that's different. That's that ripple effect.
Mm-hmm.
The way anybody, even the way, well, was it because what happened on this side? But there were occasions you got drunk, berated your dad, called him out of the blue, and berated him. Conversation was over, then he confides in his wife, and then yeah, it's I think that's the thing. In addiction, you have no concept
No.
of
Uh-uh.
how far and wide it reaches.
So, yeah.
This is good. So we'll add this to the Facebook group.
To add on my list of stuff that I need to get done on
well,
top of
this
everything.
is a good idea. So we plan future episodes. Like, this is great to end on, so that you provided some step to get help.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, awesome. So that is what we will strive to do each and every episode.
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us. Sorry we had to take a few weeks off, but life is life, and know that you realize that. However, it's important to us that we don't miss, even though sometimes we absolutely have to. We want to that we're in the right place at the right time when somebody needs help. So anyway, keep watching.
All you have been that have been watching, there has been so many like views and everything. I'm super excited. I just love seeing those notifications, and it's just amazing. I just really appreciate it.
Yep, absolutely. So if you are a person in addiction, member, a spouse of somebody who's in addiction, and you want to, obviously you can through the YouTube comments. You can also reach out personally and confidentially through something like that. But we definitely want to be there for you. The right. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching.